Okay, I just want to check to make sure we're online. Yes, we are live. Okay, should we start? So we'll have a kirtan. You got me for an hour with kirtans. Just chant. Let me stand up when I chant. Okay, so maybe have a little kirtan, 2 or 3 kirtans, and then what I was thinking is that we have some kirtans, and then we have like a little darshan session. We can have questions and answers. If anybody has any answers for me. First we'll chant something very simple. All right. Everybody knows Prabhupada's pranam prayers? No. because then we have more rhythm, because everybody seems to be asleep. What? Cartels don't go well with it, but the drums, more drums the better. All right, so actually what we're going to do now, I brought some song sheets with me, so you can pass them out. How about G? Actually, no, how about Nitai Pada Kamala?
They can open up on their phones as well.
Yeah, but then they won't dance. They'll just sit watching their phones the whole time. I know it's a vacation time, but this is not a wake. Yeah, I really do. We'll do G Jaga later. Later on, but you know, I'm 72 years older than everyone here. Older than Monica too, right? No, Monica's the oldest one. I know. The old folks have more energy than the young folks. Let's try this again. See let's, one more song. Give me the song sheet. We'll do G Jago now. That was nice. Oh, I just need one song sheet. The other ones. There's two under there. Give me a second to catch my breath. And actually, let me sit down for this one because I'm scraping my elbow on the guitar. It's going to start bleeding in a second. No, I don't need water.
We can move the camera.
Yeah, let me move the camera.
Everybody can see.
Okay, that's fine. We're good. Okay, that's good. All right, gang. One more song and then we'll do questions and answers. The problem is I'm scraping my arm if I keep it on the strap like that. So. No, you could stay. But if I stand with the guitar right now, I'm going to scrape my arm some more, so it's already scraped up. Everybody in the G Jago? Maybe it's too slow for everybody.
We can make it fast.
Let's play a different song. Krishna Now G Jago. Wake everybody up. One more song and then we can take questions. What? It's on the tune.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah. Jago, Jago, Kojanga, Polai, And so, let me all sit down.
Some water, Maharaj?
Yeah, some water.
I have the bottle, Maharaj, if that's okay.
The bottle. So does anyone have any questions? We are broadcasting to the world. Oh, sorry. Here we go. This one. Okay. Harinam Ki Jai. So does anybody have any quick questions? We're in the middle of class here. Our evening class every day at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. What do we get? Krishna. All right. Anybody have any questions about Krishna consciousness? No? Yes, Rishikesh.
Today, how do we perpetually develop this enthusiasm, dance and chant and be happy? It's just the body doesn't support sometimes, honestly.
Whose body? Your spirit, your material body?
Always complains about this pain, that pain.
We just ignore the damn thing. It's like, one of my godbrothers gave an example one time. You may not be familiar with the American game of baseball. So there's a catcher. I guess it's similar to cricket. There's a catcher. He has a mitt. He has a glove. And to keep his glove in shape, he has to keep punching it. So you see, like Srila Prabhupada. Actually, I was listening to a class of Prabhupada's, and he was talking about how he came over in the boat, and he said, for the next 11 years, and even until Prabhupada left the planet, he was in bad health. That's what Prabhupada said. And you would never guess it with Prabhupada. I mean, Prabhupada, in the beginning, there's pictures of Prabhupada playing this bongo drum for like 10 hours at a stretch without any rest in Tompkins Square Park and in other places like that in New York. And it's a question of just, anyway, pushing through it. So, you just have to push through it. I mean, we all have material bodies that have limitations. Of course, we have limitations. We don't want to hurt the body or do anything that's harmful. But having a little aerobic exercise is not bad for the body. I think most of the devotees are not in good shape. It's important, like Prabhupada, just a little bit of information about Prabhupada in the beginning days, that Prabhupada had his heart attacks in New York, and they called for a doctor, and it was Sunday, and there wasn't any doctors around, except for this old Jewish doctor. And he came to see Prabhupada, and examined Prabhupada, and he said, I think you chant too much. He said the old man chants too much. That's exactly what he said. And then he told Prabhupada, you got to exercise every day. So from that point forward, Srila Prabhupada started his morning walks, which were very aerobic walks. I mean, Prabhupada really pushed it. I remember going on for a morning walk with Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles and other places, and we basically, young men had to run to keep up with Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was just like, and not only would he go very fast, but he would stop on a dime. That means when he wanted to make a philosophical point, and you see that in some of the videos, that Prabhupada would just like stop. And I remember almost running into Prabhupada several times. Because I was jogging, and then Prabhupada would go, and all the devotees, you see that in the videos. And Prabhupada would make the point, and he would keep walking, but he really pushed it even when he was walking in the morning. Because he wanted to keep his body going as long as possible. And that's why Prabhupada had, and I don't need a cushion, we're in the forest. Sannyasi is not using cushions. What Tanya refused. So Prabhupada really really pushed himself, but at the same time he took a lot of measures for his health, like 2 hours of massage a day from Shuddhakirti and from other devotees who were massaging Prabhupada. So, and then he had his own cook, special diet and everything like that. So it's not a problem neglecting the health. But, at a certain point we just have to, especially all you young people, you just have to push yourself a little bit. It's not going to hurt you. You're still a young man, Rishikesh.
I have knee pain today. I was just dancing and he was complaining. Oh, don't do
You
it.
have knee pain? How much do you weigh?
130.
It's not too much. Anyway, good luck. I used to have knee pain too when I was over 200 pounds. But now I've gotten down to about 145, which is pretty good. And so there's no more knee pain, no more pain at all. Okay, anybody else have any philosophical, spiritual questions? Addition Ryan.
Maharaj, just continuing to that point, because everyone has busy life, is there like 15 minutes someone can take out? What would you suggest as good exercise?
15 minutes what?
Someone can take out 15 minutes a day. What would you suggest as a good exercise just for that?
Chanting the holy names. What?
Physical.
Oh, physical exercise. I would suggest that people, the doctors say, you should walk at least 6,000 to 7,000 steps a day, somehow or other. That's the first thing. And usually you should walk really fast to get your heart going. And dance and chant. Like Prabhupada also said, our exercise is dancing and chanting. So, so far today, with dancing and chanting and everything, I've done 9,881 steps. And that's just a normal day. Usually it's well over 10,000. It will be over 10,000 by the end of the day. So we got to take care of this body. This body belongs to Krishna, and that's why we have to adjust our diet. We can't always eat things that taste good. We have to eat things that are good for us, because this body belongs to Krishna. Manasadeha Geha Yokishimor. Arpulam to Yopade, Nandakashora. This mind, this body, everything belongs to you, Krishna, under the instructions of the spiritual master. It's not ours to mistreat or misuse. So, any other questions? Yes.
I was wondering about the statement where it says we're made in the image, created in the image of God. I understand that makes sense for people that are here, but obviously not all souls are in human bodies.
That's right.
Even when we go to the spiritual world, we don't necessarily have a human body there either. So how does that apply?
That made in the image of God applies to people who have human bodies.
In the world, in the material world.
And also in the spiritual world. But there are many living entities. And the soul, another way you can use that is that we have the same qualities as God. And we take the word image in an indirect sense to indicate qualities. Because what are the qualities of God? Satchit and Ananda. And we are tiny fragments of the Supreme. So in that way we're made in that image. If you take it in a sort of figurative sense, rather than a literal sense, because our spiritual bodies are, as you say, sometimes not human spiritual bodies. Some of us are what? Some of us are bears in the spiritual world. Some of us are Yodas in the spiritual world. No one knows what a Yoda is?
From Star Wars.
What?
From Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah. How did you know? You're in Maya. I was just seeing who's actually in Maya here. So, there must be a Yoda in the spiritual world. So, what other questions do we have? Yes.
We always think we're going to be more humble, and so to become more humble and kill our ego, what do you say? I know we chant, but that chant also, it has to be proper chanting. And besides that, what do you say?
What is what you're trying to say? He says, Manina Manadena.
Kirtaniya Sadahari.
No, I know that. He says, Manina Manadena. So what does Manadena mean? No, Manina, not expecting respect and giving respect to others. So that's the point. So we should consider ourselves servants of other devotees and other people in general. I mean, just like, for example, when those nice people came and they started dancing with us, I was actually thinking in my mind, I'll have to render them some service and engage them in the kirtan. And it was very blissful, wasn't it? I don't know, many of you saw them because they were dancing along with the devotees. And they're guaranteed now to become devotees. Yeah, just like dancing in Canada. And there'll be a lot of people who have heard the holy names, even those people there who may be
All these trees.
the trees, and the people who may be eating some substances that are not so describable. But they're hearing the holy names. So we're actually rendering service like this. And just like myself here, I'm sitting up here, I'm not thinking, wow, I'm the big entertainer. This is what I always wanted to do my whole life, and that Krishna's fulfilled my desires. Always wanted to be a rock and roll star. And Krishna fulfilled that desire. No, I'm not thinking like that. I'm thinking that I'm serving all of you by getting you to dance and hear the holy name. So I'm having a service attitude. And that way the holy names are potent. If I'm doing it just to entertain you or to have people appreciate me, or just being in a mode of passion, then it doesn't have the potency there anymore. But you could actually hear the holy name. It really enlivens the heart, because I was thinking of serving. So if you have that consciousness of serving others, then that's true humility. True humility, I often say this, and of course it's a common saying in English, doesn't mean to think less of yourself, but to think of yourself less. You understand the difference? In other words, you just think of others. What can I do for others? I mean, just like sometimes people call me up. Just like the other day, someone called me up. They were having some issues that one of the leaders in the movement, and they needed someone to hear them. And I did the service of hearing them, and I was very happy. And they thanked me for listening to them, and I was very happy to do that and reflecting what they were saying. Because as service added, that makes us happy. It's a natural part of the soul's psyche. I often give that example of a lady one time who was scuba diving or skin diving. I mean, she's going under the water, and she felt this whale, small whale, kept pushing her with his nose. Why is the whale doing this? Whales don't eat human beings. This is not the story of Jonah and the whale. Does anyone know that story? Those of you from a Christian background. But whales don't eat human beings. They generally eat plankton. Anyway, I'm not going to describe what that is. So this whale kept pushing this lady. The lady's thinking, what the heck is this whale pushing me for? And then she, after a few minutes, she looked and she saw that the whale was pushing her away from the shark and protecting her. So naturally, that's part of our nature. Now you might say, what about that shark? Is it part of its nature too? That's a good question. I often thought about that question. Yes, but the shark was very hungry. So the moral of the story is, actually it has a moral to it, is that when you're under the control of your senses and pushed around by your senses, your natural compassionate nature becomes pushed aside, covered up. So even the shark might be natural and compassionate. I mean, animals are like that. I was just reading another story about a little baby bear that was drowned in the ocean, and the man saved the little baby bear, and the mother bear didn't kill the man, but hugged the man, thanking the man for doing that. So when we have controlled senses, of course I'm not saying the whale had controlled senses, but the whale at least wasn't hungry. But whenever our senses are pushing us around, our natural compassion becomes covered up, and we become cruel to each other. So it's important to be able to control the senses, at least satisfy the senses, and at least eat sufficiently. It's hard to give a class if you're really hungry. I'm not hungry. or ate before I came here. I had one of my godbrothers, in fact, I make sure before I talk to him that he's eaten already. Because if he hasn't eaten, it's a little touchy. So it's important to have the senses satisfied. So a spiritualist like his Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada will always have his senses satisfied. Bhakti, Siddhi Kam Sakalaya Shanta, Krishna Bhakti Nishkam Adaiva Shanta. It's a statement in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that as long as one is hankering for bhakti, external things, or mukti, liberation, or powers or position in this world, one's mind will always be disturbed and can't be truly compassionate. And Lord Kapila Dev says, Tikshiva Kurunika, that one has to, first of all, become tolerant, that means the senses quiet, before one can actually exhibit Kurunika, be full of compassion. So it's really important. So that's our natural nature. Just got to let it come out. That's all. It just comes out automatically when you're Krishna conscious. All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, I have to get back so you can all have real fun. I promised Ujjwala I would leave by 6, because she said we want to have fun when you leave. Yeah, you gotta have fun. No? All right. So, any other quick questions? We got a lot of people watching us tonight. How many people watching us? Anyway, a few. And there's also on Facebook and YouTube. It's recorded, in case you want to watch it later on.
I have.
Yes.
So sometimes we see people are doing services, and there's a scope of improvement in that service. So how do we deal with that? Because if you're dealing with them in a way to tell them, they might take it differently as well.
Yeah. So the question is how to instruct someone when they can do something better, or they're doing something the wrong way, and you want to show them the right way, and you know the right way. That is dangerous. Because there's a statement, Upadesho Himurkanam Prakapaya Nishantaye, that if you give someone who is not Krishna conscious or, mixed, a good instruction, it can make them ashanti. So, ashanti means the opposite of shanti. We all want to be shanti. So, it depends. I mean, I can't give a pat answer to that question. It just depends on who they are, what your relationship is, whether you can do it by setting an example, whether you can do it directly. It depends on how humble the person is and how much they really want to learn, and what the etiquette is. I mean, there's 10 different factors there. But you have to be careful. I mean, Prabhupada, he was always very, very positive, but with the people who were really surrendered, he'd let them have it. I remember with Vasurabi Abhipalyantam Swami, who designed the temple in Vrindavan. Prabhupada was always finding fault and pointing out. And the other devotees were saying, oh, what a nice job he did, what a nice job he did. And Prabhupada said, my duty is to find fault. So that's the spiritual master. Or in the case of Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Prabhupada was extremely heavy with him sometimes. When Prabhupada wanted him to go to China, because he was driving the people in the United States crazy, as you probably know, stealing all the brahmacharis. Because hardly any brahmacharis left to steal anymore, right? Oh yeah, 1 or 2. But I don't think they would join him right now. So, they like their computers too much. So then Prabhupada said, after the temple presidents complained, Tamal Krishna Maharaj said to Prabhupada, what do they want to do? Send me to China? And then Prabhupada called him back an hour later and said, you have a very good idea. Because Tamal didn't want to see Prabhupada. He just said, I'm not going to see him. And Prabhupada said, you have, and he said, I'm not going. And Prabhupada said, if you don't go, you just stay here. I'm taking away all your service from you. Just sit here and chant Mayapur. And he said, I'm going. So when you're dealing with someone who's really Krishna conscious and surrendered, then spiritual master can actually do that. It just depends on the situation. You know, if he's your friend, if he really wants to learn, if he has a big ego. Like Lord Chaitanya, I was just reading about how Lord Chaitanya would chastise someone who didn't clean the temple, Gundicha temple sufficiently. Lord Chaitanya was being sarcastic. He said, "Oh, you've done a great job. Everyone else should follow your example." And then the person got so embarrassed that he actually started to clean more enthusiastically. So there's different ways to deal with a situation like that. But the main point is, we're dealing with people. Things are not so important. Things and money are not so important. People are the real asset of the Krishna conscious movement. So the first priority should be to encourage people rather than get something done right. That should be the first priority. And people get discouraged and go away. Then what's the use of our management? Even if we make billions of dollars and build big temples, what's the use of it all? One has to understand the actual mission of the Krishna conscious movement, the vision of the Krishna conscious movement, which is to engage the maximum amount of people in Krishna's service and to create a revolution in misdirected lives of an impious civilization. So if you keep the mission in mind, you'll understand what to say to people. But yeah, one has to be very tolerant. I mean, some of you, anyway, especially, you people think you take the position of spiritual master, and, it's all like gravy at that point. Or ghee. So, it's all very easy, but I have some really interesting disciples. Some of them, it's like, anyway, I won't tell. I think as I go into Kirtan Sindhu, know what I'm talking about. Without mentioning any names. But I just tolerate because I don't want to push anyone away. It's weird. Sometimes it's really weird. But I just want to tolerate because I don't want to push anyone away from Krishna consciousness. So that's the standard. Somehow the Prabhupada tolerated so many things. The main point is to keep people engaged in Krishna service. It's easy to kick someone out. And then, you remember like that whole story that Indraduni Maharaj told about Pigpen. You know the story of Pigpen? Somebody heard the story? Once upon a time, the devotees in Paris were going on Harinam. And then there was this guy living in, he was a homeless guy, living, drunk or whatever like that. He hadn't taken a bath in about 3 or 4 years. And he would come out drunk, and devotees would sometimes give him prasadam and everything like that. And so what happened is that one day Prabhupada came to Paris, and then this particular person jumped out of the bushes when they were with Prabhupada and tried to touch Prabhupada's feet. And the devotees pushed him away from Prabhupada. And then the devotee said, I can't let you near Prabhupada. He smelled his flies, fly face all around him. And so the devotees go back to the temple with Prabhupada, and they find him there in the temple. And Prabhupada said, don't kick him out. So then they let him stay in the temple, and they gave him the nickname Pigpen, because he was like that. And he stayed in the temple. Eventually, then we started to clean the temple and behave a little bit normally. And so eventually the devotees were going on traveling Sankirtan, and he jumped into the van, and he said, Sankirtan. And he said, Pigpen, you can't really go with us on Sankirtan. He says, yes, Prabhupada saved me, Prabhupada saved me. That was his mantra, Prabhupada saved me. And so they all went out in Sankirtan. They were eating their prasadam before the devotees left the van to go in Sankirtan. And they noticed the Pigpen wasn't there. And he had grabbed a bag of books, And just when they were finishing the prasadam, Pigpen came back and he had no books with him. And he said, Pigpen, what'd you do with the books? I sold them, and he had all the money and everything like that. And then and they said, what did you tell people? You know, he didn't know much philosophy. He said, I told people Prabhupada saved me. That was his Sankirtan mantra, Prabhupada saved me, Prabhupada saved me. And they kept taking his book because of his sincerity. And eventually became one of the main book distributors, became a great devotee, was giving Bhagavatam class in Los Angeles and other things, other places too. Just by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And then, I mean, recently he developed throat cancer and he passed away from this world. His name was Vasada, and he passed away from this world. So you see, you know, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a lame man can walk, a dog can swim an ocean, or a blind man can see. According to Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it's real. It's real. You know, Krishna consciousness is real. Dini Hini Yata Chiro Hari Nam Udivila. You take shelter of Krishna's holy names, anything can happen. I mean, look at me, look at all of us, you know, lives have been changed by just taking shelter of Krishna's holy names. Okay, one other question. Yes, Ujjwala. Yeah, we try to care for others.
So would you speak about caring for self while we care for others?
Oh yeah. Well, I said if we don't take care of our own needs, we won't feel compassionate to others. And yeah, care or charity begins at home. And the more, I wouldn't say the more we care for ourselves, the more, but if we're aware and we care for our basic needs, the more care we're going to be able to give to others. It's just like a car. If you don't take care of the basic needs of the car, like the oil, and of course nowadays electricity, my car. But if you take care of the basic needs of the car, you're not going to be able to use it anymore. So this body is described by Krishna in the Gita as yantra. Yantra Rupani Maya. Yantra means like machine. And the subtle body is also like that. So we have subtle bodies, linga sharira, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Gross body is pancha mahabhuta, earth, water, fire, air, ether. And so all these different elements have to be balanced in order to use this body, both subtle and gross, the mind, intelligence, the ego, and this stuff, you know, the earth, water, fire, air, ether, to use it in Krishna's service. It's like a car. It's exactly the same thing. You've got to take care of a car. I mean, I know many devotees, at least in the beginning days of the movement, they didn't change the oil in their car and they didn't put petrol or gasoline in the car. I remember I was driving with one of my disciples. Hopefully he's not on right now. He is. I won't mention his name. Begins with a G and ends with an L. So I got to protect his identity. Oh my God. He's upset. He's upset. All right, so let me see what he's saying in the chat window. So I was driving. I said the gas gauge is on empty. I said that's all right. Krishna will protect us. I said, yeah, Krishna will protect us, but Krishna gives us intelligence. And he says, oh yeah, that's many, many miles ago. I said, empty. He said, there's reserve. I said, what? He's not saying anything. And so all of a sudden, put. There's a gasoline car. Put. I said, now, who's going to get the gasoline? And he said, I will. I said, no. I'll get it a lot faster than you. So there I was walking with a milk container to the next gas station. So the moral of the story is that we have to take care of our ordinary business too. A devotee is not neglectful of his ordinary affairs. You know, just like in managing the temple. I'm Leela Saki's doing a great job, and we all work together, and we're all very attentive as far as like how to spend Krishna's money. And there's anyway, some of our members have offered to set up a trust fund for the longevity of the temple, so we're thinking about that. So I consulted my lawyer, who happens to be a devotee, and asked him how to do it. And so, we're taking care of ordinary things, but in a professional manner. So it's important to be professional. It's not that devotees have in this lobby with different colored socks on each foot that we had in the old days. Of course, we didn't have a choice because we were brahmacharis and we had to share our socks with 30 other men. And it would take all of Mangalarti to figure out and find a matching pair of socks. Because there was just a big vat full of socks from the washing machine. So, where's the match? Yeah, so you couldn't find it, so we look very interesting. So it's not. I think Krishna consciousness is to present like a very refined, professional, respectable. Like I was talking to a devotee today, and they said, "Well, if you want to get this software, I can get a hack copy." I said, "No, we don't do that stuff. We don't hack things." You. So I said, we actually, we should just be respectable devotees. Like was that in Shakespeare says, Caesar's wife should be above suspicion. So devotees, Prabhupada said, should be perfect gentlemen and ladies. We observe the law, we follow the etiquette, and in this way, people will trust us. We're honest. So, under most circumstances, sometimes for preaching Krishna consciousness, I remember one time I had to go to a country which didn't allow devotees in. And I came to the country, I had a little hat on, I took my neck beads off, and they said, "Are you a Hare Krishna devotee?" I said, "What's that?" What'd you say? And they said, "Okay, you're good." I mean, that's an exceptional case. And then once I got in the country, it's legal. So, so we have to take care of our ordinary business. Okay, I think I have to go back, because I go to sleep early and I get up early. 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'm gonna head to the hills, and then you can all have fun and eat and swim, bungee jump, whatever you do. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki.
So this devotee said, "I'm honored to be used as an example for you to make an important point. Please forgive me for the difficulty I caused you that day." No, he's a great devotee. He's been serving for so many years. We all make mistakes like that. Okay, Prabhupada.